Tecuani Beast is the new for 2026 Vekoma multi-launch coaster making its debut at Mexico's Bon Luxury Theme Park, a brand new theme park resort coming to Vidanta World near Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. This will be the largest of 5 roller coasters featuring 6 inversions, a top speed of 65 miles per hour, and 3,930 feet of track. This ride will be an airtime machine. Riders will experience 16 seconds of airtime, 13 individual airtime moments, and a huge array of elements. This is a fantastic layout, and in this analysis, we're going to break it all down, talk about what you can expect. So first off, if you're unfamiliar with Bon Luxury Theme Park, Bon is an acronym for Beauty of Nature. This place is designed to be a high-end, immersive theme park, and so naturally they've created a whole story around their individual attractions. While we don't know all the official details, we know that the word Tecuani is based off of a serpent god, which completely lines up with what you can see the front of the train here. Stunning design, one of my favorite train fronts that I've seen, and it might not be the only time that we see the serpent represented in the attraction. In this brief second of concept art, you can see what is probably going to be some sort of animatronic that interacts with the ride vehicle. My immediate assumption is that this comes at the end of the ride because we can see as this animation plays that the ride begins with the launch straight out of the station. A maximum speed for the beginning has not been released. My guess it's somewhere around the 45 to 50 mile per hour range, but much like some of their other multi-launch coasters like Abyssus at Energylandia, the beginning is just a warm-up. But while the start of Abyssus can be a little underwhelming, I think just because of how low the ride stays, you kind of just glide through it like a gentle pace. The first element straight out of the launch here is actually pretty high off the ground. You'll rise up into this wave turn-like structure in the same way that Blue Fire does it, where you're hanging sideways, but instead, at the apex, you then flip to the other direction, dropping back down low to the ground, hopefully getting some good whip in there. There's this off-axis hill and then another sharp directional change, and then our first of 6 inversions, a station fly-through corkscrew. This is not the first time that we've seen Vekoma do a station fly-through. Rides like Let Coaster in Poland or Phoenix in Denmark do the same thing. They're great moments, not just for the riders, but also the passengers waiting to board. It's an awesome visual, and the way that it's profiled where you start level, power through, and then drop down reminds me of the same element on Let Coaster, and that is such a strong moment. I cannot wait for this part. So keeping that momentum, you bank to the right, rise up into a traditional airtime hill. My guess would be some floater airtime there, and then you drop into launch number 2. So that's just the first half of Tecuani Beast, which looks to be a fantastic start. Already would I anticipate to have more punchy moments than a ride like Abyssus, and this second half just goes hard. You shoot up to the sky in our highest moment, which an exact height has not yet been released. I can say that Abyssus is 126 feet tall, and considering that the rides have almost identical top speeds, Tecuani Beast is only 3 miles per hour faster, I fully anticipate this to being around like 130 feet or so. You ascend straight up vertically into the sky and then flip around 180 degrees into this top hat. That's going to be a very sudden transition, a lot more whippy than something like Abyssus because of where they place this top hat, essentially directly over the launch but facing the other direction. And I think as you're descending down this drop, if you're in the back car, you are going to get whipped over. So I can't wait to experience this main drop, easily the biggest drop in the entire park. Likewise, an exact angle of descent has not been released for it, but it does look very steep. I would assume maybe around like 80 degrees or so. And from here, you shoot back up at the sky into what they're calling the double rollover top hat. These are essentially 2 inversions angled upwards to form the ascent and descent into this top hat. So you enter on one side, spiraling towards the sky, level out, continue to roll in that same direction, but now towards the ground. So it truly is 2 separate inversions, but combined to form one element. Unfortunately, we don't have a POV so that you can see exactly what that would look like from the rider's perspective, but I almost think of these rolls more as spirals. Like on a much smaller scale, how a ride like King Ka would spiral to change directions. The train will then fling back up into the furthest point of the ride. This is a cutback stall. So think of a cutback like a moment on, let's say, Twisted Timbers. They've stretched it out so you dangle there, getting some good hang time. and then flip back over in the same direction that you came from. So when you entered to the left, you exit to the left. You'll experience a nice twist and then so naturally flip into a corkscrew, keep rolling, and then rise up, getting one of those awesome ejector airtime pops. And instead of dropping back down, you'll stay level and enter this panoramic turn. It reminds me of Goliath's turnaround at La Ronde, how you rise up and then stay at that level and then eventually drop back down. But in this case, that drop back down is another inversion. That's a downward corkscrew, our final inversion on the entire ride. So once again, keeping with the trend that each of these inversions are going to feel different one to another, despite the fact that you have so many different rolls, they're all angled in creative ways. I also just want to pause right here at this panoramic turnaround to point out that if this background was accurate, then that would be one of the most stunning views you'd get from any roller coaster. And while the location of this park will be beautiful, I doubt it's going to look exactly like this. But we will have to wait and see. As for the rest of the layout, there's another quick transition as you go from the right to the left. I hope that's pretty whippy. You'll then receive a nice big old pop of air as you then flatten out into your final brakes. And that concludes your main ride experience, but I do anticipate there being some sort of serpent or beast spieling something to riders before they pull back into the station. It should be a really cool experience. It's going to have a beautiful station, hopefully a well-themed queue, lots of good views from around the park. I think this ride is going to be a slam dunk. I love the combination of elements. The teams at Vekoma do a fantastic job blending each moment one from the other. I think Tecuani Beast has the potential of being one of their best thrill rides yet. Getting a dual launch coaster like this, especially in North America, is huge. For a while, their new thrill coasters have really only existed in Europe and China. Now, North America is starting to catch on, and I love it. There's some of the smoothest roller coasters in the entire world, and those trains are extremely comfortable. It's the over-the-shoulder lap bar with this light vest that goes over top. Doesn't get tight on you during the ride experience at all, like some B&M coasters, for example. So you still feel that very open sensation. And I think Tecuani Beast is a perfect example of an attraction that'll be able to balance the thrill aspect, please those adrenaline seekers, while also not being too much that kids won't be able to enjoy it. Because this is a park geared towards the whole family, but of all of the attractions they're adding, this is the one that caught my attention the most. It's going to be the only double launch coaster in Latin America, the tallest and fastest launch coaster in the country, and I think it has a chance of being Mexico's best roller coaster. A must-do during the day, and also a must-do at night. You can briefly see in this animation how the train will light up at night, and when we were at the IAAPA Expo and got to see the train in person, you could even see how the eyes on the vehicle glow. That is going to be really cool for the rider, and maybe they'll do some cool light effects on the track too. So this will be a place you're going to want to spend all day at. Once the park opens in 2026, you can sure as heck count on us to be there, because this just shot up to the top of our list of must-ride attractions. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.